Now, just like your mom, leave no trace principles have some rules when it comes to doing dishes outside. So I'm going to walk you through some of the things that I do to help abide by these rules and keep nature clean, as well as some tips and tricks that I've learned over the years to make doing dishes without running water so much easier. If you're new here, my name is Alana, and I've been living out of this 2006 Honda Accord for the past 3 years now. Obviously, I do not have running water in a Honda Accord, so in this video, I wanted to show you guys how I responsibly do my dishes when I'm out in nature. Now, the first thing that I've done to make doing dishes so much easier in general is I got a cast iron pan so that I don't have to use any dish soap when I wash it, and then I just have one designated scrubby that I use to scrub all the bits out of it, and then I just re-oil it, re-season it, and it's good to go. So I really enjoy having that one pan that's really good versus having, you know, crappy camping pans. I feel like that motivates me to cook more, and it's super easy to clean up afterward. Next, let's see, what else do you use to do dishes? We have a collapsible dish bin, which is nice for gathering a bunch of dishes at one time. We also have a gray water collection bin so that we're not just dumping water and food bits out into nature. We're collecting it here and then dumping it responsibly. We also have clean dishwater. I like to separate my dishwater from my drinking water just because I only have about 5 gallons in my car. So I want to make sure I have my drinking water for drinking and then a little bit less dishwater. Then I also have the trash can here just to scrape any food bits, as well as throw away paper towels that I use. I don't like to use paper towels to dry the dishes. I actually like to use the paper towels to do the first round of cleaning, so like to do the initial wipe down before I actually get the dishes wet. That way you don't end up with a ton of food bits in the water anyways. The food bits get on the paper towel and you can just throw it away. Also, pro tip when you're out in nature, use biodegradable dish soap. I found this at Walmart 3 years ago when I moved into my car, and I still have this much, so it's worth the purchase. Another thing that's worth investing in is a sponge that is quick drying. So I've seen people use like Scrub Daddies or similar like steel wool scrubbies, because regular sponges like the Dollar Tree like squishy sponges, they don't dry very well when you're living in a car. So quick drying sponges. Same goes for the towel that you use to dry things on. I use a microfiber towel, and this is just really quick drying so that I don't have to worry about it getting super smelly and wet and damp in the trunk of my car. Then I don't always do this, but I'm doing this because we have a huge bucket of dishes because I'm camping with my friend here. We are going to boil some water in this collapsible kettle to do the dishes with hot water. That way I don't have to use as much soap, and the hot water helps to disinfect the dishes instead of just using plain old room temp water. And I guess lastly, it's helpful to have a table of some sorts. This is my friend's table. You can also do this like on a picnic table or anything, but yeah, I like to gather my dishes until I'm at a nice spot and I can do them all at once so that I can do it properly. Let's do the dishes. So I'm heating up some water. I'm going to use the boiling water to rinse the dishes once I have cleaned them, but in order to get the dishes wet and spray them down with soap to do the dishes, I have 2 spray bottles here. One has just plain water that you use to wet everything down, and then the other one is a spray bottle with just a tiny bit of soap. I use very little soap in doing most of the dishes and then rinse them with the hot water, and then if there's any like super stuck on messes, then I will use a little bit of extra dish soap, but I try to use as little as possible. All right, let's get to wiping these down. One of my other favorite camp dish tricks is to take a clean cup and just put a little bit of dish soap in it. This is how my boyfriend does dishes, honestly, even at his house. But you put the little bit of soap and a little bit of hot water, slosh that around, and now you have hot soapy water to dip your sponge in. Just don't burn yourself. I'm not sure if you can see him over there in the shade, but if that had been my dog, I may have recommended letting him do the first round of the cleaning instead of using the paper towels, but that's not my dog, and I don't know who he belongs to, and technically, I guess, in Leave No Trace, this would be wildlife, so don't feed wildlife. Anyways, now we have everything wiped down, soaped down, scrubbed down. All that's left is to rinse everything off, but I need a place to put it once it's rinsed off. So I think I'm going to move this out of the way. All right, now that I have the space, and because we're in the sun and we're not going anywhere for a minute, I'm just gonna lay my towel out on the table so that we have somewhere to set the dishes. All right. Where to begin? I'd say we did the dishes without spilling any water or feeding any of these dogs, so that was a win. As I'm editing this video that I filmed back in October of 2024, I'm realizing that I forgot to include the part where I disposed of the gray water, which is arguably the most important part of this entire process. So if you want to read about Leave No Trace's proper process for disposing of gray water, I will link that down below. But basically, you want to dispose of your gray water 200 feet away from any water source, and you want to strain it through a strainer to get all of the food scraps out of it before draining your gray water. Ideally, also, you wouldn't just dump it all in one place. You would collect all of your strained gray water into one container and then scatter it so that you don't, cause a river to form where there is no river, and then next time it rains it starts to form there and then cause erosion there, which wouldn't naturally be there if you hadn't dumped your gray water there. Fun fact. So 200 feet away from any water source and scatter the water after you have strained it. Those are the important takeaways. Also, sometimes if you're camping at a campground like me and my friend were, there are certain places where they have designated where you can dump your gray water. However, do not dump your gray water in pit toilets or sinks that don't have the proper drainage for food scraps if you haven't strained your water properly. So there is a technical way to do this, and it is important to follow these Leave No Trace rules now more than ever. If you haven't seen last week's video, I will link it in the cards here. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, you know what I'm going to say. I appreciate you, and let me know down in the comments. Do you have any other dishwashing in nature tips that I forgot to mention? Leave them in the comments down below and let each other know. If you enjoyed this how-to style of video, make sure to show me with your thumbs up, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe down below so that you don't miss the next video, and I hope to see you guys again in the next one. Bye!